And welcome everyone. It's either good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. And I hope that you enjoy this webinar and pick up some good tips and certainly have questions for me at the end. This webinar that I've entitled Food Safety, Security, and Fraud, Are You Ready? And the reason I put this together in this manner is that I recognize that food safety, food security, and food fraud are interrelated. Now, I'm going to be moving through the slides, and I'll tell you when I'm moving the slides, and then you're going to have to move the slides from your end. So this will be a little different than perhaps than other webinars you participated in. So I'm going to slide down to the second slide, and you should see a picture of a skull in I guess a head of lettuce. And the reason I put this slide in there, and I do have sympathy for people in the food production area, because it's a very tenuous type of operation. There are great opportunities for issues to occur, both in terms of food contamination and food substitution, such as in food fraud, and deliberate contamination. And so I put this skull there as a warning saying, you know, we really need to be diligent about the food that's being produced and being served to clients and customers. Going on to the next slide, the specific objectives of this particular talk are really, first of all, to look at the underlying causes of microbial foodborne disease. You may be familiar with those, but I do want to say a few words about that. And then I would like to differentiate inadvertent versus intentional contamination of food. Talk about the threats and realities of food as a weapon. And also address the issues of the risk of food fraud. Now, when I talk about foodborne illness and inadvertent intentional contamination, I'm going to talk about the new FSMA requirements as well. So these are really the objectives that I have: to look at foodborne illness, to look at intentional versus inadvertent, to talk about food as a weapon, and then the risks of food fraud. So I'm going down to slide 4. And this is rather simple and straightforward. How does what are the underlying causes of foodborne illness? I'm talking about root causes. Well, the first thing is that food becomes contaminated. Either it's contaminated from unsafe sources, perhaps growing in the field or in the production facility, or it's contaminated by cross-contamination, often in the production facility, in transportation. Perhaps there's poor personal hygiene involved. And that is also related to cross-contamination, where people are not provided with appropriate facilities or do not use the appropriate facilities when handling food to wash their hands. And then perhaps there is the issue of inadequate sanitation and processing, which results in food contamination. So the first step in foodborne illness is that the food has to become contaminated in some way.